Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we're getting into this unboxing of the brand new Mephisto Marvel Legends Mephisto figure. Now, so this was purchased in about a year ago exactly from this time. It is part of Hasbro's made to order line. So it's not the same as the crowdfunding line, like the HasLabs is slightly different, where those you have a certain point in time where it has to reach a certain amount and then they're able to produce it. And if it doesn't reach the funded amount that they're looking for, then it doesn't get produced. This made to order is more like everyone jump on their orders in that window, and then whoever gets it at that time, you'll get it a year later. If you don't, then you just miss out. Now, they sometimes will bring these back. They did it with the Sentinels from the X-Men 97, where it came in at one point in time, the window closed. Later on, they reopened the window, but they reopened it at a premium of, I want to say was something of, I think the initial was 175, then it was like about 250 later on. So it went up to a premium, almost $75. So who knows if they'll bring this one back, but it's just being released now. Taking a look at the box almost reminds me of a Dungeons and Dragons like kind of box set. For those who are familiar with that, you got some box art here of Mephisto on his throne. This is definitely a nice one because a lot of people, from my understanding, wanted a Mephisto character. I think there was supposed to be a crowd-funded one at one point in time, and that one didn't make it through. And then, from my understanding, after the fact, then they released this, and a lot of people were excited about it. So, and what it says here on the backs, this is the English one, you can read it yourself, but ruling the Stygian deep atop his throne, Mephisto, Lord of Evil, schemes to capture the immortal souls of men, especially those of Marvel Universe's mightiest heroes and its most vile villains. So, yeah, just the box art on it looks really nice. The box itself, I would say, is worth collecting. You have that same art on this side as you had on the other. And I am just going to jump into the unboxing now. And I'm hoping that I won't have any issues getting through this to where I'm gonna have to pause the unboxing. But let's see how it all plays out. Nothing else inside the box. Okay, let's change the angle up a little bit so we can get a better view of things here. Matter of fact, let's first stand it all up and you can see how it's packaged. And it's packaged like that. And sorry about that, you guys want my angles to be good. We got a little bit of this in here, just Hasbro paperwork, nothing important. So we have Mephisto here, and he is, while he's in there, matter of fact, I'm gonna measure him out because it'll be easier than me standing him up later and trying to have him balance. So he's roughly, the very tippity top of his hair is about 8 inches. Now, just to give context, a Hulk figure, most standard Hulk figures, I have the Maximum Hulk and I have the gray Anniversary Hulk that came with Bruce Banner, and those measure, I know the gray one measures about 8.5. So he is just 3 inches, I'm sorry, a half inch shy of being the size of the Hulk, but obviously not as bulky. But Mephisto was always depicted as a pretty tall character. Let's see if we are able to get him out of here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take, okay, so all that stuff at that angle falls right off. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna just put that to the side for now. We're gonna put his other goods to the side for now as well. And we're gonna just focus on getting him out of the box here. All right, we were able to get the ruler of the demon world out of his packaging. We will probably try to put him back in his packaging at some point later, just for storage, because I don't yet right now have a setup to kind of store, you know, a nice display right now. So taking a look at him, we're going to jump into some closer detail at the moment, and then we're going to dive into a lot of his other accessories. So here you can see his face here and his eyes. He's very much in a squinty view. Put this next to here. He's got the grin like he's almost laughing. It's almost Joker-ish like in its appearance. The wild hair also going everywhere. So that is very nice. Good side profile. So one thing that they did also with this figure is they gave him soft goods and as far as his cape and the more hard cape. So you can see he's got his ab crunch and whatnot. This right here is like semi-soft material, but I think this is, I'm not too sure. I think that this is meant to come off as well, but I don't really see how. I'm not really too sure, actually. Let me come back a little bit. So you see here, he is here. He's got these little pieces here. He's got these hands, open palm hands. He's got more of a closed hands as well. Now, some people are big sticklers to like grasping hands not being the same as fist hands, and like they want fist hands. I'm the type who's fine with grasping hands also acting as fist hands if you need to show them doing like a punch to somebody, but you know, I'm not one of those people who's over particular about those type of things. The only thing is I'm not too sure how this works here, and I don't want to pull it or break it or anything of that sort, but at the same time too, I'm not sure how this goes when it comes to if he's sitting down, because I think that this, and this is another piece here, is the soft part that would go on him. Where would this go? I'm actually not even too sure. Let's see if they show it on the box anywhere. So yes, this does go around his waist based on the image of the box. I'm not really too sure. I'm not sure how that goes on him though. That's the only thing. Is his waist going here? I don't even know how you would get this on him. Now, does his whole thing pull up from here? But I would hate to pull him and then he fall to pieces. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how that goes because I've never dealt with a figure like this before when it comes to that. So I'm not gonna test that right now, you guys. So I'm sorry not to be able to put that on the video. I don't know how that goes. Does his torso come up? Is that what it? Oh, oops. Okay, so I killed Mephisto. I have completely killed him. I'm just kidding. Apparently this is how he's done, but I didn't even realize that. I've never dealt with a figure like this before. So we're gonna try that, pull that off. I guess this wraps around his lower half. This would go like that. And let's see. If I can't do it fast, I'm gonna stop for the purpose of, I don't want to drag it out. So here we go. This compresses right there. And then he would pop back on. This is very odd. Like, I'm not used to dealing with this on figures, so it's definitely odd to me how this goes. Okay, so we're gonna just have him stand up over there. Now he's got this is his cape. The material looks very nice, the detail on it, but obviously then you have the soft cape for the purpose of him sitting down. So we're gonna, let's do this off camera, pop this head so that way he doesn't. And like I said, I'm not one of those people who've had a lot of figures like this before. The only other figure I have like this, but I never actually opened them, was Odin. And I could see where if someone's constantly taking these things on and off, it could become a thing where just trying to pop the head back on, where it can become a thing where you don't know if you're going to end up damaging the figure or parts start to come loose or anything of that sort. So we took a look at the hands. Here goes the sword. Pretty nice. A very huge sword. The sword is almost as tall as he is. I'll just stand him up there into the background right now. This is, I'm sorry, his soft capes is on him. Let me angle this up a little bit more so we can see him a little bit better. So it's cool. You see some texturing on the inside here. He comes with a skull that he could probably hold in his hand, I'm pretty sure. Some pretty good, nice detail on that. So now, without further ado, let's check out this throne of his. So here goes the main base. It's a two-part thing, but let's kind of dive into detail with this really quick. You could see here the skulls. Let's zoom in even closer. The skulls and the detail there. And this is probably like, so this figure went for $80. This is probably the bulk of what you're really paying for. This accessory here, because otherwise him as a figure alone, I would tell you that he shouldn't be any more than say Odin. And Odin went for $50 when he came out. I'm sure, you know, he started costing more later on, but I always make him the bar of a premium figure, Odin, because I really feel he was one of the best values as far as all the accessories you got with him for what he was. And I actually think that aside from this big bulky piece here, Odin's value in terms of accessories, if you took this away for, this figure is $80. If you took this away for even $30 and say the rest of the character is $50 with his features, I would say he doesn't even amount to that for what he comes with. So this right here is really almost valued at half of the cost of the figure, probably like about $40 out of that 80. This is probably $40, not 30. And let's get a close-up of this while we have it before we add it to the throne, the completion, so you can see the detail on there. It looks very nice. Very nice. And I wish more characters actually came with thrones. So one character I think would have really benefited from a throne was Thanos. But that's just me, especially when it came to the Infinity Gauntlet one, which, you know, came with some decent accessories, but nonetheless is not sporting a throne. So let's see and make sure that I have this the right way. I think he's gonna go like that. Yep. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. And let's just have him sit. I'm gonna eventually put him back into the box. I'm not gonna go too crazy with the posing, but let's just get him at least, he's very stiff, at least in a way where he can sit to some degree. Have his cape just off to the back there. And there he goes. So what are my thoughts in terms of if the character is worth it? I think, and this is something that I feel like a lot of people have to really come to terms with when you're dealing with a character that is paid to order, made to order, however you want to say the phrase. And when it comes to somebody that is rare. Just give a couple of different angles of him here. So my thoughts when it comes to that is this: a character like this who is rare, you're paying for that. Is he worth his value and his price? No, he's not. Granted, there's more plastic and detail in this base than there is the figure. So if this is half the value of the figure, is that worth it? The truth is, yes, it actually is worth more than the figure, the actual the stand, the throne is worth more than the figure when you look at it from a perspective of how much plastic you're getting. Yes, it's soft plastic, but it's highly detailed. It has a lot going on. So it's worth more than the figure. So in that case, you could say that, you could even say $50 was the throne and $30 was Mephisto. You could even get away with that, because the truth is that another comparable figure to this Mephisto in terms of accessories and whatnot would be almost like a figure that I have, at least, was Herald Thor, Galactus Herald Thor, that one. And that came with a lot of things, came with, you know, the cape and all that. It came with the ravens, this and that. And that's probably almost comparable to Mephisto by himself. So you could almost, and that was $30 figure or less at the time. So in that regard, you could say that there's a lot of value within this is what you're paying for the throne. Does that make it worth it? Well, when you say to yourself, I love the throne as a feature, but you say to yourself, the throne is not what you're purchasing for. You know what I mean? You're purchasing for the character. You wouldn't necessarily pay $50 for a throne, or even $40. We'll say it's half. We'll say $40. You wouldn't pay $40 for a throne if it didn't come with the figure. You'd be like, that's not what I'm buying for. I'm buying Mephisto. And in that regards, Mephisto might cost a lot as a figure himself, but you're purchasing him, the figure. So if what I'm saying is making sense, throne is just a throne. Plastic, it's more valuable than Mephisto, but it's a lump of plastic that doesn't depict anything other than a throne. Mephisto's lump of plastic may not be worth his value if he's $40 or $50, $40 maybe. But let's say if a person said he's supposed to be $50 and the throne is $30, you might not say he's worth his lump in plastic, but you would say at least he's shaped and molded to be Mephisto. So at least you're getting Mephisto. The throne is amazing, but it is still a throne. And it is probably the bulk of the value of this set. So in that regard, I would say, if that made sense to you guys in terms of the way I'm trying to break it down. So with that being said, it pretty much comes down to the price of each component versus the demand of the components. And with that being said, as a whole, is $80. That's a lot of throne. So I will say that I'm not gonna say that this throne is definitely worth more than Mephisto in terms of just plastic. But with that being said, I would say that if this figure was probably 70 or 65, I would say he's worth it, because the throne, you could say, is worth it. Like I said, my comparison, where I compare him to is Odin. And I think the throne makes it worth more than Odin, but the accessories are not better than Odin in terms of the value of the accessories, even though you do get the soft goods and you get the hard goods as well. So with that being said, I would say if I compare the value of just all the things outside of the throne, I would say that his value is, I would give him $40 on his value. Not $50, but $40, more so than a well-packed regular Marvel Legends figure, but not to the level of, you know, Odin on his own. The throne, then, if he was worth $40, I would say the throne could be $20. Yes, it's more plastic, but you're still buying it for Mephisto. You're not buying it for the throne. So with that being said, I would say $20 extra for the throne. I would say $60. Maybe you could stretch to $70. $80 is a little too much, but nonetheless, as far as my review on the character, I think he's really done very well. Mephisto is a very rare character. I would say that if he does have a re-release, he's worth people jumping on. With that being said, you guys, as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.